You say your name right now.
Denise? D-Nice?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. I've noticed that Antonio Brown has found yet another sucker to take him on. God knows we've already done Pittsburgh's dirty laundry. I'm curious about one thing. Do you think that he'd be welcomed back as easily in the league if he were going back to Bill Belichick and the Patriots? In other words, you think that he'd be welcome back if you were going to make New England a better team, or if he's going back to Tom Brady?
Armchair.
We are the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for sports talk live from the first coast.
Well, what do we do? This just got way too complicated.
I've got it. Here's what's going down. Corey, you talk to your team. You guys are going to decline that holding call.
Done.
Yo, wait, but
Hold on. Trayshawn, once we break this huddle, you're going to get out there, do some crazy celebration. I'm talking some humpies. Whatever you got to do, you do it.
Okay, I got you.
I'm going to call unsportsmanlike conduct on the celebration, giving the Whites better field position after the kickoff. Coach, I need you to talk to your team about letting them run that kickoff back.
Why would I do that?
Think about it. Defense, special team, it's all one. You let them run that kickback, both your defenses get 6 points.
Nice.
Okay, everyone good here?
Yeah.
Nope. Once again, my kicker is getting no love.
Oh, shut up, Bill. Your team is in first place. Plus, you're about to get extra point for the PAT.
Yeah, don't be greedy, Bill.
Stop being greedy, Bill. Bill.
Fine.
Bill. Yeah, Bill.
I said fine.
Bill.
Bill. Yeah, Bill. You, Bill.
All right, let's do this. Get out there.
Wait a minute. Trayshawn comes in with a very delayed celebration here. Oh, wow. I'm pretty sure that's going to be yeah, there it is. Another
Armchair.
I said it like 4 times, so why didn't you say it the first time? Because it's pronounced Aaron? Son of a...
Armchair Quarterback Radio is AFC South Country, all NFL season long.
They hand it off Fournette. He's driving, and he's in for the touchdown. Drive starts at the 1 and looking for a little breathing room, and they get that in plenty more. Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go. 90 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable. Second and 10. Empty set. Walk down the field. And that is Hilton again. First and goal. Ebron. What a year for him. Eric Ebron. Touchdown. Goal. Slant. Caught. Touchdown. Marquise Lee. And he punched the ball into the stands. Deep. And he's got it. Keelan Cole. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
Stay locked in to the AFC South on Armchair Quarterback Radio.
I don't return fruit. Fruit's a gamble. I know that going in.
Good Friday morning to you, Armchair Quarterback Nation, as we are coming to you live from the Armchair Quarterback Studios. And Tony Aguilini joins us today with the Gators and the Alabama Crimson Tide set to do battle. How are you, Mr. Tony?
Woo! Good, man. How are you?
Good. Are you already headed down to the stadium to camp out?
I wish. I gotta slave it away at the old day job today, but no, we're gotta get to work a little bit early this morning, so I figured I'd bring you along for the ride.
Awesome. I believe Justin's going to join us here in a minute he's obviously pro Gators this weekend with them taking on Alabama.
I can't be in the same place as Justin at the same time.
I'm sorry, do what?
I can't be in the same place as Justin at the same time, so I gotta go.
Well, I'm starting to think that y'all might be one and the same, because I don't see you ever in the same room at the same time.
That's true.
So let's go ahead and dive into it. Florida right now, the last time I checked early this morning, they were about a 14.5-point underdog. And I got to double check the over under, because that thing has moved up and down. So I'll grab that here in 1 second. The 14.5 points, as a Gator fan, you got to figure that you're going to cover that, right?
Maybe. I mean, I think my prediction's a little bit over. As far as the point spread goes on Bama's side, I think it's just one of those things where I think it will be a good game, at least for a half, hopefully for 3 quarters. And then ultimately Bama's depth and just overall talent ends up pulling away. Like the atmosphere tomorrow, even with the rain, I think is going to be unbelievable. As good as we've had there probably since the Auburn game a couple of years ago. And beyond that, it's been a while. So, that will only get you so far. At some point, you've got to make plays and, actually influence the game other than people like me screaming and yelling. So hopefully that'll happen. I think the talent gap's getting closer. I still don't think it's near where it needs to be, at least in Florida. And, you've got, can our defense stop, Bryce Young and Melchin and their receivers and Robinson and running back? And, can our offensive line block their defensive line? And then on the other side, their front seven is as good as it's ever been, even without Will Anderson, if he doesn't play on Saturday. So I think it's a mismatch. If this was in Tuscaloosa, I think Florida would have no chance. Being in Gainesville, I think there's a slight chance, but ultimately, I think Alabama wins the game probably by a couple touchdowns.
Now, the last time we saw the Florida Gators on the field, Richardson was limping around. Is he a go?
I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it. Like hamstrings can be fickle, and I've only messed mine up a little bit once, and obviously I'm slightly less of an athlete than Anthony Richardson.
That was before or after you were playing quarterback at the University of Florida, about to score off with the number.
It was right after.
Okay.
It was part of the dogpile celebration, but let me tell you, a slightly pulled hamstring in a rec league softball game. That one hurts, but my fear is they trot him out there and he hurts it again, and then he's out for like 6 weeks versus we probably need him to wrap up Tennessee and Kentucky here in the next few weeks. So I don't necessarily want to risk the season just to kind of get him into this Alabama game. I mean, there should be other ways to win it. Now, if he's a full go and he's some sort of bionic man or something like that, then by all means go for it. I just have a fear of him trying to make it, hit the next level on the gas pedal, and all of a sudden that thing gets a lot worse, and all of a sudden we don't have him until the Georgia game.
Right. But if he can do, also, do you think they might have been playing possum a little bit with that? Do you think they might be trying, because the game was well in hand? Do you think that they were also, A, he may not have been as injured as you let on, and B, you're playing a little mind games with your next opponent? And then also, if he is the guy you're going to lean on, there was no point of putting him back out there, because no matter what Coach Speak says after the end of the game, that's your number one. You don't want him getting hurt. To heck with Emory Jones. That's what I think is going on.
I hope so, at least as far as his health goes. That's just one of those things. It was right about when he hit like the 50 or 10-yard line, and all of a sudden he came up lame, and I'm thinking, oh crap. And then they trotted Jones out. I almost wanted to see either Kitna or Del Rio out there. And Kitna, by the way, that is the former Lions quarterback's kid. Those are the other two backups. Like if Emory gets hurt and Richardson can't go tomorrow, then you've got one of two true freshmen that are playing. So, but yeah, no, there was no reason for Richardson to play again on Saturday. He'd already had ice on it. He was still walking around, which is a good thing. It's not like he went straight back to the locker room to get electro treatments or anything like that. So hopefully some rest and daily treatment will rub some Ben Gay on it or something. But hopefully he'll be ready to go a little bit. I think, Emory's made some okay plays, but, we're up 35-3. All he really has to do is not screw up. And he threw like 5 of the worst passes you'll ever see. 2 of them got picked off. Another 3 of them should have. And to me, and none of these are happening under pressure. So to me, it's just, a lack of good decision-making. It's not following your instincts. He's waiting too long to get the ball out. And by the time he gets the ball out, you've got a underthrown football like you had against FAU, where he's trying to complete like a 30-yard flag route. And, by the time he threw it and put some air under, even the FAU defensive back had a chance to go get the interception. So that's the biggest thing for me is like Emory's throwing these picks and he's not even under pressure. Like none of the 4 interceptions he has, did he have a guy in his face or was he under any kind of duress? He just threw it in the wrong spot. And way late, and it got picked off. And he should probably have 8 interceptions by now.
So the over-under right now is at 60.5. I've seen that climb a little bit. I think it'll climb a little bit before kickoff, which is 3:30 Eastern tomorrow. That is the first CBS game of the year, I believe. And it used to always be Tennessee, Florida. Well, Tennessee hasn't held up their end of the bargain yet. So they made it Alabama, Florida. So big game for the SEC, big game for CBS. 60.5, though. That seems like a high number. But the last time we saw these two teams square off, the total was over 90. So I'm kind of torn on whether I think that's too high of a number or not. Do you think the Florida offense, the way it's laid out right now, do you think the Florida offense, A, should put over 23? Because I think they will. And B, can they hold Alabama under 37.5?
You're not going to believe this. My pick is actually 38-21.
Okay.
So I'm right below that 39.5. I'm just over the 20. And I think you said the over-under was, 50, 59 or 60. And I'm right there. And that's without me really looking at anything. I had that a few days ago. So like I said, I think it's one of those things where it's 24-21 or something like that, towards the end of the game or maybe halftime, and then Bama ultimately pulls away. It's just the personnel is so different. Florida's offense now is totally, it's not schemed in any part like it was last year, where it's 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide, and just let Trask pick you to death and take some shots downfield. This year it's, Emory's got to be a more willing runner. Quarterback has to run, whether it's him or Richardson. I think we'll open it up a little bit more this weekend. We've got 0 targets so far this year to the tight ends, and they're not Kyle Pitts, but they're pretty good. So I think you'll see them get more involved. I do think we'll let the lid off the playbook. I think everything's been pretty conservative. Ran a trick play last week that was, one of those dumb throwback plays. Something that's not going to work against a team that prepares like Alabama does. But I do think you'll see more underneath crossing routes and some safer throws maybe for Emory to let him get in a groove, and hopefully that offensive line can get some push. And if Florida can stay in the game by halftime and actually get the running game established and not make it so that Emory's facing 2nd and 12, 3rd and 14, that kind of stuff all game, then Florida's got a chance to upset Alabama. But I don't see it happening for 4 quarters, and I think that's my biggest problem with tomorrow.
My biggest question with it, because me, I'm a betting man, so I'm always looking for the inside edge on that, is when I look at the sheer number line. I know Alabama's been very, very intimidating over the last several years, and you're 14.5 isn't enough. If I think I'm going to steer clear of this game, but if I was going to take the points or minus the points, I think I'd honestly be leaning towards the Gators plus 14.5 because it's in the swamp. But as soon as I talk myself into that, I think to myself, what are you, an idiot? You're going to sit here and pick against Alabama. All it takes is 3 possessions of them just trucking down the field, and the opposing offense can't get it going. And next thing you know, the game's out of hand.
Right. And the defense gets worn out and you're done. We've seen this 10 years.
And so I'm staying away from the actual number itself, the minus 14.5. I don't care if it goes up a point, down a point, whatever. It's too much of a variable. I think Florida at home, giving Florida more than 10 points at home to any team in the country seems insane, but Alabama has such a track record. The other thing is this Alabama quarterback has not really faced in any kind of adversity yet. I know that he was supposed to have the big game against Miami, but Miami laid an egg. I mean, that was an absolute dud of a game. So he was never pushed. Now, conversely, someone will say, "Well, he wasn't pushed because they played so well and they beat their doors off him." But if he gets pushed, I'm wondering what Young would do in a big pressure situation. Not that Richardson's been on the big stage, but he'll have the crowd behind him. Young will not, and so that's kind of where I'm leaning on this, because I look at the tail of the tape. Alabama, yeah, if you look at analytically, Alabama probably is about a 2-touchdown favorite. But I don't think they're taking nothing into the fact that when they when they're giving the home field, the fact that it's the Swamp and it's not like Vanderbilt's home stadium. I don't remember what the hell it's called, but the Memorial or whatever. The Swamp is one of the most difficult places to win at. So that's going to be an issue. And then the other issue to me for covering that spread is, could Florida backdoor this? Could Alabama have the game in hand and then they start putting in their backups at the very end and Florida backdoors it down 21 and scores the late touchdown? So I'm staying away from that, but I kind of like the over. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. Alabama gave a lot of points to Florida, but I get it that Trask is gone, but they did give up a lot of points to Florida last year. They also gave up a lot of points to Ole Miss last year. And this Alabama defense has not, and of course, once again, they've lost guys in the NFL. This Alabama defense, it's not a given that it's going to be just some kind of juggernaut shutdown. I think people get that confused with the fact that the Alabama offense has become so elite that you cannot. The Alabama offensive line has become so elite that it puts so much pressure on the opposing offense to catch them, to match them blow for blow. What say you?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think their front seven for Alabama is really good. I think they're better than anyone else in the country. But I do think on the back end, they're a little young back there. They're a little susceptible. So, but that's the problem. Like that caters, the front seven caters towards Florida's strength right now, which is running the ball. And then that secondary kind of caters to the weakness, which is Emory Jones, reading defenses. And he's got the arm, and he lacks the when to throw what pass kind of gene that most quarterbacks naturally have. So I guess that's still a work in progress. But yeah, you're right about. And Bama's offense, their offensive line is what they're known for. And they had to replace 3 out of 5 starters. Leatherwood's gone, and the center that I forget his name. He was a higher draft pick rounds, I think. Kid that transferred from FSU, and then there's another guy that left. But the guys, they just they plug in their guys, and that's the thing. If Young gets off to a slow start, or if he's a little shaky starting in the Swamp, then you just hand the ball off to Robinson or one of the other running backs, or having Bama runs the screen pass better than any team in the country, and you get Grantham with his like meathead blitzes. Grantham's all or nothing on defense. Either he's blitzing guys from 15 yards away and they have no chance to get to the quarterback, or he's blitzing guys at the line of scrimmage and leaving defensive backs on an island. And other than Elam, there's not a lot of guys on Florida's team that can cover Melchi and Earl and Williams and those guys. So that's the catch-22. I almost hope Grantham kind of sits back a little bit and makes Alabama kind of show their hand on offense versus.
That's what Mickey Andrews did at Florida State. I mean, he just would lean on his secondary and he'd bring the house. Now the difference was back then, Mickey Andrews had the elite secondary in the country, so he knew he could do it. When we got to the point where we weren't recruiting as well in the early to mid 2000s, and he was playing that same defense, we were getting scorched.
Right.
So, I mean, realistically, a defensive coordinator, they can be as smart or as dumb as they want to be. If they don't have the athletes to put the pressure on the quarterback and play out on an island, their hands are kind of tied.
Yeah, they're that line for Florida between Carter and Cobb and then Villanueva, the other Auburn transfer, and there's a second Auburn transfer too that's played a little bit. If Florida can get some penetration with the front four, that'll help. We didn't have that at all last year, but we've upgraded a little bit in the offseason. So hopefully that'll help. Ventrell Miller's not going to play. He's out I think he might be out for the year, but he's out for at least until the Georgia game. He's probably our best linebacker. He's the middle linebacker. And so we'll have Jeremiah Moon maybe move over to there, and you might see Diabate a little bit, but that's a pretty big loss, especially against Alabama, who likes to run the ball. So Ventrell Miller was one of the SEC Media Days speakers for Florida, since there was only 2. So that's how important he was as far as leadership and play on the field. So we'll miss him for sure. Other than that, him and the DB was injured before the season opener anyway. But really, Florida's pretty healthy going into this game, other than the questions with Richardson and then Ventrell Miller being out. Not sure what Bama's injury report is other than Will Anderson, but it sounds like he's going to play. I think he went knee to knee with somebody last weekend against Mercer, but I think Bama's going to be at full strength.
It's funny. every time I pull up the depth charts for these teams when we talk about them, there's a color legend on there, right? And the gist of it is the green. If names are in green, it means that they're projected as an early round NFL draft pick. And so I'm used to seeing one, maybe two per page. Alabama is just loaded. I mean, I started thinking I was on the wrong page between that and the gold, which is also highly rated. I thought it was on the Green Bay Packers page because it's just green and gold. I was like, what is this?
It's crazy. I mean, and
it really is. The brand new head coach of USC next year will be who?
I think it's ultimately, I think it'll end up being Fickle, only because there's connections there with the AD at Southern Cal and him being the guy that hired Fickle at Cincinnati. I think if he wasn't already at Penn State, I think there's two categories of coaches. I think for Southern Cal, there's realistic and then there's like celebrity. The celebrity coach is James Franklin. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. But I think since he's at Penn State, he's a Pennsylvania guy. I think he'll stay there. I think Penn State will open the pocketbooks for him, especially I think they're going to have a really good season this year too. Why leave that when you've got it kind of built, when you got to go out to USC and kind of start over? But I do think it'll end up being Fickle, but the celebrity pick would be Franklin.
Welcome on the show, Mr. Justin Waller. Justin, are you done running that moonshine on the backwoods of Tennessee?
I played the fifth, man. It is Florida Bama weekend, though. I mean, got a lot of Gators fan asking for some big orders right now.
Right.
What is your take on the Florida Bama game? Because we're talking about how the line's 14.5. The over under is 60.5. What say you?
I like the points. I don't know about the spread yet. I don't feel that Florida's going to stay within 2 touchdowns. I just don't feel like that offense can put up anywhere the numbers of what we've seen so far out of Alabama. If I'm betting, I like it from the over 60 standpoint, though. I mean, Tony, you might want to put your earmuffs on, but Alabama might hit that alone. I don't think 40 plus is out of the realm of possibility for Alabama, and I think Florida's probably going to put up high 20s, low 30s. I mean, you have a turnover, something there. Maybe we've got a ball game, but I wouldn't put money on the 14.5. If it got down, or you could buy it into under 14, maybe you could talk me into it. But I might put some Alabama way, but I'm staying away from it either way at 14.5.
Yeah, I was saying I'm at 38-21 Florida. I'm sorry, 38-21 Alabama. So I'm kind of in your line of thinking, like one more turnover or one more possession by Alabama, they do break 40s though.
So back to the USC thing. When Dan Mullen gets to Southern Cal, what's his first hire going to be?
Urban Meyer.
Hopefully Todd Grant. We call Lane Kiffin.
McElwain, Spurrier. What was the other one? Just got Muschamp. I mean, let's just put the boys back together.
Right. Yeah, Mullen anthem, and we'll hire Lane Kiffin or somebody. We'll end up with like Drinkowitz or something.
I mean, I'll joke on myself too. You could hire Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, the list could go on. Yeah, we could just have an all-star of SEC washed-up coaches at Southern Cal.
I'll tell you what, after being released as a 31.5-point dog, South Carolina might be looking to hire Muschamp. I saw that line. It's like, dude, that was never this bad as when Muschamp was there. At no point was Muschamp ever a 31.5-point underdog.
Yeah. And, I kept pumping up UAB a little bit on the Saturday show last week, and Georgia absolutely thumped them. They didn't even mess around. I mean, that was what, 38-0 at halftime or something like that. And then of course, Jacksonville's own Carson Beck came in late and ruined the shutout by throwing a pick 6. But yeah, Georgia was really impressive. And I'm telling you, that's not a terrible UAB team. Georgia just woodshedded them. But yeah, Georgia's got an interesting next few weeks. And then Arkansas is on the schedule, who knocked off Texas, but that game's in Athens.
I haven't gotten a really good feel on where USC will go with the head coach, but I do think that they're going to look at the Southeastern Conference. I think they're going to go after somebody who has already. They might go NFL, but I honestly think that they'll go Southeastern Conference. To be honest with you, I think it's going to be someone that may have a good season this year. And let's say it is Mullen. Southern Cal's got all the money in the world and all the allure of Los Angeles, but I wonder if Mullen would be a fit. Like, all jokes aside, because his personality. Can you imagine Mullen banging heads with the governor of California with the mask mandates and everything? I don't know if that would be a fit, as they say.
You know, it's funny about Mullen. I don't even know.
Well,
I don't know if he's a great fit anywhere. Like, he's not the greatest fit at Florida, but at least he runs an offense that's like fun to watch, and we're desperate for that after the last 10, 12 years.
He's a good coach. I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, he's just weird.
He is weird. He's not the guy you want to hang out with at the cocktail party, because you feel like he's going to say something really strange, and then you're going to be like stuck in that corner going, how in the heck do I get out of this conversation? But he definitely finds a way to coach up these quarterbacks.
Right.
And I believe Kyle Trask, when he's finally given a chance to play in the NFL, is going to be a solid quarterback. We don't know what's going to happen with Richardson. Obviously, Jones looks like he's not an NFL prospect, but you look at Dak Prescott and what he's done with other quarterbacks all the way back to when he was at the University of Florida. He gets production out of these quarterbacks. So I look, it could be a lot worse, man. You could be losing to Jacksonville State on a Hail Mary when, for whatever reason, you didn't have a prevent defense on with 6 seconds left.
Yeah, that's the biggest fit for Mullen, is that he's a good quarterbacks coach at UF and runs a good offense. But if this was the same thing where like the offense stinks and like Muschamp, where the defense is really good but the offense can't do squat, it's just that tiebreaker is your personality, and when you're weird, it ruffles up some things. But no, Mullen's fine. I think if he leaves Florida, I think if an NFL team actually would give him the time of day, I think that would be his next move. But I think he'll be in Gainesville for a decent amount, as long as he doesn't put his foot in his mouth about something.
Before you take off, Paul Azinger made some comments about Koepka maybe not being a fit for the for the Ryder Cup, because Koepka made the comments about how he doesn't like the fact that they don't play your typical golf during that it, and it is a little weird what they do on the Ryder Cup compared to other events, but I also think that's what separates it. So the Seminole in me wants to, back up Azinger, and the Seminole in me wants to back up Koepka. I'm like, what? I'm like, why are we eating our own in golf? What do we got? 3 or 4 guys that have ever made it? The hell are we doing? What say you on this whole thing? Is it a big deal, or is it just no deal at all?
I like Koepka a lot. I do think it's a big deal. It's just not every golfer's mindset's the same, and that's okay. Like, that's perfectly fine. I think Koepka just wants to win as many majors as possible and kind of do his own thing away from golf. And the Ryder Cup's totally different. And it's not just Koepka. I mean, it's a lot of the guys on the American team, and it's why USA struggled with this generation as far as winning the Ryder Cup goes. For Europe, it's like 2 weeks of like, it's like a week of fraternity hell week, kind of getting to know each other, and then the next week you're on the same team playing golf. They're more vocal about rooting for each other. When you watch the Ryder Cup, they're guys that aren't playing, they're out cheering their guys on. It's more of a camaraderie feeling over there. And here in the US, it's a little bit of all year, it's everybody out for their own, and then you get to Ryder Cup, you almost have to like flip a switch. And some of the guys are really good at it, some guys aren't. I do think he's right in the fact that, like, if Koepka doesn't want to be there, and I wish Koepka would play and do well and all that stuff, but if he's not a guy that really like wants to be there, there's like 4 guys that were this close to qualifying that would walk across glass to play in it.
Right.
But let one of them step aside and let one of them do it, because they're probably going to be pretty good. And whether it's Kisner or Horschel, who won last week, or I don't know if I'd pick Kevin Na, like Webb Simpson's out there, like, and you got to pick a guy who knows how to play the type of golf that you're going to play at Whistling Straits. So that kind of knocks out Webb Simpson. But there's 3 or 4 guys out there that would happily take Koepka's place and probably do just as well. I think Koepka would be awesome in individual, which isn't until Sunday. But what do you do with him until then when you're playing different formats like, 4 or 2 ball and best ball and stuff like that? So
I think that's what he's really saying is that Koepka just
Right.
wants to play a normal tournament and he doesn't want to play all the goofy parlor games, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and
Azinger is saying you're there for the team, and it's
Right.
and that's what makes it fun. It's a team game,
Right.
and Koepka's obviously his own entity. Like he doesn't want to be a part of a team, which makes sense for why he's so good at golf, because golf is not a team sport. So I kind of get it where they're coming from. It would be almost like all of a sudden out of nowhere you're asking football players to play football, but yet you're going to do it individually, right? We're not going to play an actual game of football. We're going to go out there and do things like, can you beat your receiver one-on-one, and that's going to get you X amount of points as a defensive
Right.
back,
Like
right?
I don't think Azinger's wrong. I don't think Koepka's wrong. It's just overall it's the wrong for the Ryder Cup. And like I said, if you don't want to be there, step aside, let somebody else play. That Koepka not being there is not going to win or lose the Ryder Cup. There's enough really good players there. It's really what these guys do under pressure, especially at the home, being at the home.
That'll be the irony, is that Koepka will end up being the hero next weekend.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole thing will be goofy as hell.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. Starts Friday. I'm glad Florida, Tennessee's at night. So there'll be a lot of golf watched Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I love the event. I think it's awesome. It's good to have it back. We couldn't have it last year, and back to being on odd years, which is where we were before 9/11. So
We ran a little long, so I'll do the break here in a little bit. But what is your walk-off for the day, Tony?
Hopefully the Jaguars can get a, and I kind of like them against the Broncos. I don't know how you feel about it, but
I'll tell you what, they're a 4-point underdog, and I've said all week, it's not a game I'm going to take. I would not take the Broncos -4 because it's back-to-back weeks that they're going East Coast, early kickoffs, and they're bound to lay a dud. And I don't know if Jacksonville will win the game, but I could see either way someone winning this game like 22-20. And so I think Jaguars. We're going to find out how much fortitude the Jaguars have, because they were put through the ringer this week after losing. Urban Meyer just doesn't understand that he's going to lose a lot this year.
Yeah, and a lot of people kind of had like 2-0 since they're playing the Texans and Broncos, and all of a sudden that 2-0 just turned into 0-2, and there's not a lot of wins left on that schedule if you're starting 0-2. So I think Lawrence was okay. He started to press, as the gap got bigger. The problem with me was they gave James Robinson like 5 or 7 carries. That's nowhere near enough carries.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we will see you tomorrow morning on the Dixie Football Nation, and we'll get all the predictions in.
All right, man. Sounds good. See you, Justin.
See you, bud.
And Dave.
Yes, sir. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. The Washington football team got a W. What an amazing game.
Hi, I'm back again. I don't know much, but I know one thing. We lost you there you went rubber bandy. That game last night, heck of a game. Washington gets the W, but man, that interior lineman that jumped the snap on the field goal. Holy cow, would he be running stadium stairs for me this morning? You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
The Armchair Quarterback, he's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The All-American man with a groove in his head. Yeah, the Armchair Quarterback.
Hey, howdy, hi, Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show. Wake up, y'all, here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. We come on a little early on Friday mornings, a little earlier than normal, as Tony Aguilini, you can always rewind and watch it. We were talking Florida Bama, but Justin, I guess it's going to get into the issues at hand, because I know that you want to get to the doc. We're going to go ahead and squeeze this in and do our picks. Now, we're going to go down to one lock of the week. It's a long story, but everyone's doing these locks. It's really hard to keep up with, but also people are wanting to know, because Justin went 3-0, by the way. So we're going to give him credit for going 3-0 last week for his overall record. But people want... When I mentioned we're going to start doing one lock of the week, people demanded that Justin gets one lock of the week. They want the one game that he wants, as opposed to, I'll give you 17 of them, and you try to figure out which one you put the mortgage payment on. So, but congratulations on going 3-0 last week, sir. We're going to go into our six-pack, and then after we do our six-pack, we'll come back to our one lock of the day, okay? Or the weekend. So I'm curious to see where you're going on your six-pack as we get into this. I don't know if I lost you or if you just had to put something up on your phone.
I'm still here. I just had to flip over and grab my...
Cool. That's what I figured would happen, but sometimes I look over and go, I'm talking to myself again. What the hell's going on here? Where are you going for your six-pack, sir?
Well, I'm going to start it out with the one we've already alluded to. I like the over 60 in the Florida-Bama game. I don't think Florida needs to produce much to throw that over the 60.
Okay. So 60 and a half is the over-under. I'm with you.
I think you had 60 and a half this morning, which I'll take the half.
Either way, I think you're right. I think it's going to crush. I just don't see, unless Alabama goes out there and really shocks everyone and beats them like 45-0, how that game's going to stay under 60. I'll go back with you. My first in the six-pack is going to be 56.5, the over-under Michigan State Miami. I like the under on that game as they trying to get you back in the video. 56.5, Michigan State, Miami. I like the under in the game. It's a noon kickoff. We know Michigan State likes to run the ball. I think they'll take the air out of it, and I'd be shocked if that game goes over 60. I don't even have a strong feeling who's going to win it. Mine is a 6-point favorite. I would think they win it since it's at home. But regardless, I see this game closer to like a 28-24 type of game. Maybe even a little lower scoring than that. 56.5, that means everything's got to go right.
While I go to my second pick, can you check your mic? I don't hear music playing, but I'm still getting some distortion. I don't know if it's across the board or if it's just on my end. But my second pick, I'm going to stick college football, and I'm actually going to continue the trend of the over-unders. I really like the Coastal Carolina-Buffalo game. That's at 57.5. It's not a game that a lot of people are going to be tuned into, but those are two very high-scoring offenses. And don't overlook Buffalo. They're a big underdog in that game, and if you're feeling froggy or you're on a good run, that might be something that you watch. It's not included in my six-pack, but I think Buffalo could be problematic in that game.
So Coastal Carolina, Buffalo. What was the score on that again? I mean the line. Excuse me.
57.5. 57.5, and I'll take the over.
Okay, plus 57.5. Is my mic better, by the way?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I'm trying to do like 9 things at once over here, trying to hear it and all that stuff. Where am I going? Oklahoma.
Second pick.
Oklahoma Sooners. They're going to take on Nebraska. And I know it's a rivalry game, but it's in Oklahoma, and Nebraska has not impressed me yet. The team total for Oklahoma is 42. Because this is the Fox game of the week, I think this is going to be a game where they're going to roast them. And I think they get over the 42. I see the Sooners getting closer to 50 than I do 40. So I like the Oklahoma Sooners plus 42. I kind of like them covering the spread at 22, but I'm going to kind of leave that thing alone this weekend because I really don't know what to make of this quote unquote rivalry that hasn't been played in years. What's your third game?
Is our lock coming out of this 6-pack, or are we picking an individual lock?
It can or it can't. Like, so what did I do? I picked a game outside of this. So in other words, I've got my 6-pack and then I also have an additional pick.
Okay. Then I'm going to put in my 6-pack. I'm going to take the over 44.5 in the Saints-Panthers game. After what I saw last weekend, I don't think Jameis puts up 5 touchdowns, but I think both these offenses will be rolling. They're really familiar with each other, and it's second week of the season. So I don't expect the defense to be full tilt yet. I think this will be a lower scoring matchup in the later half of the season when they meet again. But in the first one, I like the 44.5 over.
I must have missed that because I really like that one. That is, I would expect that to hit 44.5. I think both will put up points. It's going to be a heck of a game because it's in Carolina. Wouldn't shock me for the Panthers to win, but man, 44.5, that's kind of a low score considering the ceiling for those two offenses. I don't see these two teams, even when they've had the worst offenses, I don't see these two teams ever putting up like a 17-14 kind of grudge match. It seems like Panthers and Carolina, when they play, it's usually high scoring. So yeah, I'm with you on that. My last one, I got to go with my boys getting 4.5 points on the road against Wake Forest. If they have a pulse, they'll cover and they'll go in there and beat Wake Forest. If they don't have a pulse, I still think they'll probably cover the spread. I think it's going to be a really close ball game. So we'll see what happens. But earlier in the week, I grabbed it when it was 5.5. So it has gone down. It shows you the betting public has jumped on us. If you're going to grab it, you might want to grab it soon. But I think they're going to find a way to at least compete. And if they don't, if they go out there and get beat by double digits, then Norvell is probably going to have to start looking over his shoulder because this is I'm looking at this as his first year, but it's 1.5, right? I'm counting last year as a half his season because of all the weird stuff with COVID. But you got to start putting W's on the board. It can't be all about, well, we're turning the corner and all this junk speech that I keep seeing from everyone on Twitter, all the ex-players going, oh man, they're really going to turn the table. They're really going to do this. They're really going to do that. It doesn't always equate into W's. Dude, I'm sorry, but when you lose at home to Jacksonville State, save that kind of junk talk until a game where Florida State loses a close game to like Miami or Florida, not loses a close game to Jacksonville State. Stop it. You got to start putting W's on the board. I can let last weekend's game go because, like I said earlier this week, when you play Sunday night and then turn around and play Saturday, no matter what, it seems like a long time. These college kids, they always come out duds. I see it every year after Labor Day weekend. The college kids always put duds up when they play on that Sunday or Monday night game. This week, they've got to, because we weren't going to win a national championship anyways. So that was off the table. But you got to start making sure that you're going to compete in the ACC or your quote unquote recruiting class that you're putting together at the top 10. That thing's going to quickly sink to a top 40, top 50 class, as I'm sure you can attest to. It doesn't take much to start turning that tide. Are you? I think you muted yourself.
I think I am.
Yeah. What is your lock of the day? Because I know you got a jam here in a minute.
Well, I was a little hesitant, but I'm going to take out west. I'm going to take Washington State plus 8.5. I don't think USC, after firing Helton, comes in and shows me anything on the road in Washington that there's some powerful juggernaut that can bounce back. So I'm going to take Washington State plus 8.5. I don't know that they win that game. USC might bounce back, but I don't think they win by 8.5 points.
That's so funny because I came so close to putting USC on my 6-pack for the other reason, like they were going to come out and play inspired football, but I couldn't talk myself into it. I was like, I don't know, man. You just lost your coach. You're going on the road. You a lot of these kids probably think their season, it's a lost season now, although it's not. They can turn around and make a run at the Pac-12 South title. But it's just, it looks bad. So I get why you're going there, but I almost talked myself in my lock of the weekend. Justin, I can't get my head wrapped around the fact that South Carolina is a 31.5 point underdog. So I'm taking the Gamecocks plus 31.5 and figuring this has always been a good rivalry. They normally, even when one team's not supposed to be that good and the other one is, it seems like it always comes down to a one-score game. 31.5 seems outrageous, and I know South Carolina's got issues. Talk me out of this before I put the mortgage on.
I can't.
It seems.
I mean, I literally can't. You can't give up that many points. I mean, you have to take it.
And I know they got the quarterback issues, but can't you just drain the clock and make sure you don't lose by 31.5? That's all I'm asking.
Precisely.
What's your walk?
Precisely.
What's your walk off for the day, sir?
Florida, Bama weekend, Tennessee, Florida next weekend. Y'all know what we need. All I got to say about that.
All right, we're going to go ahead and hit the break. When we come back, Matt Carr is on the way, and we are going to get into some other picks, and of course, we're going to get into our NFL picks. We're going to talk about a little fantasy football, and we're going to react to last night's game. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. If I can ever figure out how to run this thing right, what the heck? Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, just a happy, happy, happy guy. Oh, just a look at that, the happy dog. Oh, just a happy, happy, happy. CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Here's your college football slate for Saturday, September 18th. Let's start off with the top 25. The Auburn Tigers at 7:30 Eastern will take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State is favored by 5. The over-under is 53. That game can be seen on ABC. At 3:30 Eastern, it's Bama at Florida in the Swamp. CBS kickoff is 3:30 Eastern. The over-under is 59.5. Alabama is a 14.5 point favorite. At 7 p.m. Eastern in Athens, Georgia, the Bulldogs are a 31.5 point favorite against the South Carolina Gamecocks. The over-under is 47.5. Georgia Tech, Clemson. Clemson is a 28 point favorite at home with the over-under at 52. That game's at 3:30 on ABC. At noon Eastern, you've got Michigan State traveling to Miami. Canes are a 6 point favorite. 56.5 is the over-under. On the Big Ten Network at noon Eastern, Northern Illinois is at Michigan, number 25 in the land. They're 2-0 and a 27.5 point favorite. The over-under is 54. The big one on Fox, Nebraska is at undefeated number 3 Oklahoma. The Sooners are a 22 point favorite with the over-under at 62. And the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, number 12 in the land and 2-0, host undefeated Purdue. The Irish are a 7 point favorite with the over-under sitting at 58. And Ohio State, 1-1 on the season, trying to bounce back against 0-2 Tulsa. They're a 24.5 point favorite. The over-under is 61. That game can be seen on FS1. At 7:30 Eastern on the ACC Network, Virginia at number 21 North Carolina. The Heels, 8 point favorites. 66.5 is the over-under. At noon Eastern, number 15 Virginia Tech, 2-0 on the year. They'll travel to Morgantown to take on the Mountaineers of West Virginia. The home teams got the 3-point favorite, and the over-under is 50.5. Undefeated UCLA and ranked number 13 in the country, they're an 11-point favorite at home against Fresno State. Over-under is 63. Cincinnati, number 8 in the country, they'll travel to Indiana. Should be a good one. Bearcats, 4-point favorites on the Hoosiers' home soil. 49.5 is the over-under. At 8 Eastern on ESPN2, number 17 Ole Miss, they host Tulane. The Green Wave is getting 14 points. The over-under sits at 76. And the Fighting Herm Edwards from Arizona State, number 19 in the country, they're undefeated at the undefeated Byu Cougars, coming off their big upset against Utah. Arizona State is still a 4-point favorite in Provo, with 51.5 being the over-under. And the Iowa State Cyclones are a 31.5-point favorite at UNLV. 52 is the over-under. In your NFL lines for Sunday, September 19th, it looks like this. 4:25 Eastern, the Titans are getting 5.5 points. Over-under is 54 in Seattle. The Jaguars are a 6-point underdog at home against the Broncos. 45.5 is the number. Rams and Colts. Rams, 3.5-point favorite in Indy, with 48 being the over-under. Texans and Browns. Cleveland is a 12.5-point dog, and the Falcons and Buccaneers square up. Atlanta's a 12.5-point dog. Buffalo Bills are in Miami. They're a 3.5-point favorite to knock out the Dolphins. Bengals and Bears. Oh my. -2.5 Chicago. They are the favorites against the Bengals. 45 is the over-under. Patriots and Jets. New England -6 on the line. 42 is the over-under. And the 49ers, they're a 3-point favorite in Philly to take out the Eagles, with the Raiders being a 5.5-point dog on the road in Pittsburgh. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. Saints and Panthers, -3. Jameis Winston and the boys are favored in Charlotte to knock off the undefeated Sam Darnolds. Vikings and Cardinals, Minnesota's a 3.5-point dog on the road in Arizona. And the Cowboys, Chargers, should be a fun one. The over-under sits at 55.5. LA is a 3.5-point favorite. Sunday night football, you got your Chiefs and you've got your Ravens. Baltimore at home is a 3.5-point dog, with the over-under sitting at 55. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Interesting facts that will make you think. When people talk about traveling to the past, they worry about radically changing the present by doing something small. But barely anyone in the present thinks that they can radically change the future by doing something small. The best part of a cucumber kind of tastes like the worst part of a watermelon. An air conditioning repairman spends all day in buildings with no air conditioning. When it's fixed and finally cold, they leave. Security at every level of an airport is always taken very seriously. Until you get to baggage claim, because then it's just like take whatever bag you want. The amount of people older than you never gets bigger. When we're young, we sneak out of our houses to go to parties. When we're older, we sneak out of parties to go home.
Armchair.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Good morning.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
CBS Sports Radio Station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Good morning. Matt Carr is on the way. just a few more minutes, but I want to go ahead and jump in here. Brian, you're asking which game did he bet? He took the exact opposite. I took the over, and I talked about it on Wednesday's show. I've been talking about it all week. He goes and he chimes in, puts a group text with Trosh and I, and he does this every time. He always goes against what I've told him and what I believe to be true. Seems like he always wants to be the anti, and he's usually wrong. And he said, I really like the under. It's 40.5, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, everything's got to go right for it to hit 40.5. I don't believe that that's the route you want to go. And so he ends up taking the under, and he quickly starts realizing around mid third quarter that thing ain't going to hit. Of course, the total ends up being 59. And I get why he was kind of going that direction, because a lot of people are believing, hey, you're going to end up with two offenses that aren't necessarily looked upon as great offenses, and Washington lost their quarterback, and that's why the over-under was so low. But my point of the whole thing is, when you do a short week, and you see this a lot, when you have a short week and you've got a low over-under, people are under the impression that the offenses are going to be the ones that struggle. It's the defenses that struggle. The defenses struggle because they're tired from just playing just a few days before. So usually around halftime, you start seeing the dam break. And then also, you're not able to do a deep dive on the offense that you're about to face. You end up playing more of a vanilla packages and whatnot. And so advantage offense. So typically, more times than not, I've done this for a while. The Thursday night game, as long as it's not an overly ridiculous over under, I'll take the over. In other circumstances, I'm of the school of take the under, because the under normally in the National Football League will hit more times than not. I think last year is 53%, but typically it's 54, almost 55% most years. And the reason being is your betting public loves scores. They love points. But 40 points is nothing realistic. To get to 40 points, stay under 40 points, everything has to go right. And remember, it should have been higher scoring than that. The Giants should have had a commanding lead in that fourth quarter when Galladay dropped that touchdown pass. They were up 23-20. That should have hit right there. They should have had a 10-point lead. So the final score should have been actually higher than what it was. Galladay just dropped an unbelievable gaffes that cost them that win that last night. The Giants dropped to 0-2. Washington finds a way to go to 1-1, and they're just trying to find ways to win games without Fitzpatrick right now. And I think Heineke's got a decent ceiling. He can be a good quarterback in the National Football League. He looked decent last year in the playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But even with all that being said, he's got a lot of growth. But he threw some really good touch. That touchdown pass that he threw right at the end there to take the lead before the Giants took the lead, and then they came back and got the game-winning field goal. So late fourth quarter, that was an incredible pass. And of course, what you like about Heineke, he's got the mobility. He's got decent arm strength. He's not Jameis Winston out there with a cannon, but he's got decent arm strength. And I think Heineke will be able to find a way to get the W's. And that's Brian is always go opposite of Sean. You should do that in general, just in general in life. If Sean is doing one thing, you should probably go the other way, right? If Sean's wearing shorts, it's probably a pretty good idea to go ahead and wear some blue jeans and a heavy coat. There's a good chance a blizzard's coming. But all joking aside, that's why I went with it. I looked at some of the analytics, and if you looked at some of the analytics, it was you understood why it was 40.5. It was right on that range. But I'm looking at it takes one broken play to just throw a low under out the window. Now, conversely, if you have a high over, then everything's got to go right for that over to hit, meaning you can't have a low scoring first quarter. Matt Carr is going to join us right now, so let's go ahead and welcome him in.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And then
And it's the choice of a new generation.
I had no sound.
Do what?
I said I had no sound.
Period. You don't hear me.
No, I do now, but during the music, I just saw you dancing like a fool.
You didn't hear any of the music, huh? That's weird. All right.
But I know the song. So I
okay.
knew
Well, fair enough. I might have hit the wrong button. I don't believe I did, but maybe no. I hit it for a split second. I thought it would have. Maybe it just didn't come in. Can you hear me fine? Am I not going all blurby?
No, you're good.
Okay. We had an issue with that earlier. I keep having to try. It's Zoom is what it is. I always thought it for the longest time. I thought it was YouTube. It's Zoom that screws up. And I've looked into it. I've read some stuff. There's pretty much nothing you can do but just mess around with it and find the right combination. Basically, Zoom has issues when you're sharing it on social media platform. Is essentially what the issue is. And until I get us all in the same room, this is what we do. So, did you watch the game last night?
Yeah, it was actually a better game than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, I watched it.
That was a better game than the Dallas Buccaneers game. Who would have thought that Heineke versus Daniel Jones would be more exciting in the fourth quarter than Brady versus Prescott? And not that the Brady Prescott game sucked. It was good, but that was a really exciting game. And then the dopey jumping off sides. I know you had to hate that because I know you're still somewhat of a Cowboys fan. You'd much rather have Washington 0-2 than the Giants 0-2.
I'm not I do. I'm not a Redskins fan. I don't hate a lot of teams, but the Redskins always been I hate the Redskins. But I was actually looking forward to watching Fitzpatrick play this year and watching that defense. And the defense was not impressive to me last night. I mean, they had 4 or 5 sacks, which is good. But I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting not to give up 20.
Short week. You can throw all that out the window. That's what I was talking about a second ago. I've been banging the over all week. The over was 40.5 points. And I was, to my point of a second ago, everything's got to go right for it to stay that low. Well, when you get a short week, everyone thinks it's going to be the offense that suffers, but it's not. It's the defense. First of all, by around the second half, you start to see them getting tired, and the dam is going to break because they just played a football game 3 days ago. So they're going to have dead legs, right? It's almost like to me, the best reference I can give is a basketball team, NBA team, when you see them play the second half of a back-to-back night, and you're like, my God, they look like garbage because they have dead legs, right?
True. Yeah.
Which is why it's so hard in March Madness to win your conference tournament. That's why you need to be 18, 19 years old to do that. And you don't see them have conference tournaments in the NBA when these guys are in their 30s. Like, what are you, nuts? So that's normally what happens. And if you look at some of those touchdown passes that occurred in the second half, I'm looking at the Slayton one right now, not the one that he dropped, but the one that he actually caught. It was breakdown coverage, man, because I'm telling you, their legs just get heavy. And so
he looked like he just burned him. Yeah, that was a good pass.
And then the one that he dropped was just asinine. I mean, come on, dude. Come on, bro. It could have been an inch or two closer to him.
That was in the basket.
Gotta make right. Well, what I'm saying wasn't perfect, right? He couldn't catch it like that. He's got a head to catch it like this. You got to make that catch, and you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Dude, at least make contact with it and pop it up a little bit. You probably got time to catch your balance and just catch it. So that was just now you can take the other side and say, well, Daniel Jones knew the guy was wide open. Why in the world is he throwing, like, why doesn't he just basically punt it up in the air? Well, you're letting go of the ball. You can't see the defensive back fall down as it's happening. So it is what it is. But
you got to stick to what you know.
But did you see this whole thing with Galladay screaming at Daniel Jones on the sidelines?
No.
What a joke. I was listening to New York radio, and no one's really sure what he was yelling about.
No, he wasn't yelling at Daniel Jones. He was yelling at the equipment person.
No, he was yelling at Daniel Jones.
Oh, then I saw something different. Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
You could see, I mean, he was absolutely, Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones looking at him like, what?
Okay.
If I'm Daniel Jones, what I would have done, I'd have raised my hand like this. As soon as he started yelling, I got a question. Yeah. Are we going to address the 3 drops you've had already, son? No, we're not. Then just go sit your ass down, because I'm the quarterback, not you. I don't want to hear about how you signed some big contract. Come over here. You're a Detroit Lion. You're not teaching me how to win. Get out of here. But it was weird. I think Daniel Jones is almost too much like Eli in the fact that he's not as comfortable in his own skin as he should be for a quarterback. If he's going to take over that team and that team's going to start following him into the fire, he should have got up and said, shut up. Who are you?
Right.
You just got here and you've dropped 3 passes tonight
on a primetime game.
I haven't gotten my update on Twitter yet, but I'm sure you're about to be banged up and be out for 3 weeks like normal. Shut up. I go to the post every day. My legs have gotten us further than your legs, and I'm a quarterback. So I thought Daniel Jones played a really good game. Heineke played. I thought it was a fantastic game. There are some.
Did you see Alex Smith the other day talking about the NFC East is going to be the most surprising league in our division in the league?
No, I did not see that. They were talking to Alex Smith about it.
Yeah, it was Alex Smith. They were talking about it was Alex Smith and Randy Moss last Sunday. They were talking about it. He's like, the NFC East is going to be back. This is their year.
I mean, well, that was short lived because Ryan Fitzpatrick gets the IL, right? So it's like, that kind of stuff. I'll still stick with them because of the fact that I don't go back on my picks, but I took them to win, the division. And right now they're saying Fitzpatrick's going to rehab without surgery. So what they're hoping is that he can come back and play at some point in the season. I don't know. I mean,
I hope they stick with the dude, man. Just let him run. Let him have a year.
They're saying the Washington Post is reporting that he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. Let's say that's true. Let's say it's going to be 8 because the bye week is in week 9, so it would make sense. Well, I'm going to say he don't come back till week 11. You know why? Because old man with the hip. The first game is not going to be against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to let the kid run. And then if he's struggling or whatever, we have a chance. That's when you put Fitzpatrick in against Carolina, home against Seattle, Las Vegas, Dallas, Philadelphia. Those are all defenses where he can shine. This isn't a fantasy football take by any stretch of imagination. I'm not telling you to run out there and pick up Ryan Fitzpatrick because he's going to save your season at the end of the year. I'm saying from a football standpoint, I like their chances to hang in there with Heineke. They got a win last night that they shouldn't have gotten. That interior lineman doesn't jump off sides. Hopkins misses the field goal. We're talking about Washington being 0-2. Instead, the Giants are. But I thought Daniel Jones played fine. Yeah, he is what he is. He's a top 20 quarterback in the National Football League. No better, no less. He's just that's what he is. And right. I know you probably want something a little better when you draft a quarterback. Top in the top 10 the NFL draft, but it could be worse. He could be Dwayne Haskins sitting on the bench. He's sitting on the bench behind Ben Roethlisberger, who is a shadow of his former self. if Haskins had anything left in the tank, he'd be starting somewhere in the NFL. Haskins looks like Cam Newton now, and Cam Newton's got 10 to 12 years on him.
Yeah, that's healthy compared to that.
But yeah, anyways, we'll move on from that. Titans game this weekend. They're going to play the Seattle Seahawks, and that game there to me is a little interesting on the lines themselves, because if you look at the line going into this morning, by the way, Titans fans, a 4 p.m. kickoff or 4:25 kickoff because it's out west, but they're getting 6.5. The over-under's 54. I don't know if I like any, but one thing I do like, their team total just dropped down to 23, which means a lot of people are taking the under. I think Tennessee will put some points on Seattle. That was a bad week last week. That was just a very, very bad week.
They were unprepared. They didn't practice. They were a lot of times were held out of practice. They wasn't ready to go. I mean, I didn't watch one snap of that game because I was traveling, but I listened to it. It was brutal to listen to, so I can only imagine watching it.
Well, the other thing is everything went right for Arizona in the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. And there's some times in the NFL where you're like, oh my God, I barely got coffee in my veins, and we're down. The game's almost out of reach, and whatever game plan you had in play is essentially gone.
We don't play. The Titans don't play great from behind.
The Titans are going to have to, they're going to have to learn because of that defense. But the Titans, essentially across the board, for people who had them going deep in the playoffs like I do, that offensive line has to play better. And I know Taylor Lewan took ownership, and some people liked the tweet and some people didn't like the tweet. Not really important. I believe when it's all said and done, that offensive line just can't get outmanned. I mean, they need to man up.
Is Chandler Jones that good, or is the offensive line that bad?
Yes, is my answer.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. I think the offensive line's a little better. So don't get me wrong. They're not going to get trashed like that every weekend. But Chandler Jones is good. He is really good. But at the same token, as a professional, Taylor Lewan's got to take more pride in the fact that I'm not going to keep getting beat. This is ridiculous. And it's not like he's some rookie who doesn't know how to block.
Right.
I'm almost wondering, if that team read too many of their press clippings and didn't come out with the fire, and hopefully that has changed going into week number 2. Now, I didn't think that Vrabel should have been jumping all over Julio Jones this week and showing him out in the press conference. I don't know if you saw that or not, but he was referring to the Julio Jones personal foul call.
Yeah, on the 3rd and 1 that turned into 3rd and 16. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but the game was already out of hand, guy. And the game also that one penalty, I'll say this for it. That was the only guy on the team that showed any fight. So you might want to put him on the offensive line.
The only game I really got into last week, though, I was traveling. I got to watch the Kansas City Cleveland game, which that was a fun game to watch.
I saw someone chime in with "Dancing with No Sound." That is actually the name of our new album.
That's a hell of a follow-up album.
That is absolutely our new album, "Dancing with No Sound." And we'll just have some, weird emo kid on the cover with like a teardrop.
A teardrop tattoo.
Yes, of course. Hard times. Okay. So Dallas +3 at the Chargers, over under 55.5. I think this one's going to be a shootout.
I do as well. I had Dallas going 0-2 when we did our picks a month ago or whatever. I think the Chargers are good, man. I think Herbert is the future of this league. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks here, if not now in the next couple of years. He's going to be he's going to be the next big paid quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Herbert is going to light it up, I would think. I know Dak is going to.
Right.
I know that they played a lower scoring game. Los Angeles did last week, but then again, Fitzpatrick went out early, and Dak looked great. I think these two teams are going to absolutely go out there and just light it up. That's one of my favorite games. I'm going to keep an eye on this week, and I think I get it locally. So it sucks because we don't get the Titans locally, but I think I figured out a way to outsmart that little snugget since it's being played.
That'll be a good game to watch because you like me are a Russell Wilson fan, so you'll want to watch that just because that's gonna be a good game.
I won't be a Russell Wilson fan that day. Yeah, you go to hell and you die. I love Russell Wilson, but not that day. Someone here recently was on the show. I can't remember who it was. Told me they didn't like Russell Wilson. I was in shock. It was one of those things where you're like, when you're such a fan of someone, you're like, you can't understand why someone else can't be. I can't remember who it was, but I was just like, really? Okay.
Did you hear his new overtime rules he wanted?
No.
Check into that. It's pretty bad. But he was talking to I forgot who he was talking to. I think maybe the Mannings or something like that. His idea for overtime, and it was pretty. He was
bad. On the Mannings broadcast Monday night.
Okay, so yeah, he was talking to them, and he was talking his idea for a new overtime.
What was it?
Pretty much. So if you go to overtime, the time runs out. You come back out. You don't tie. You can't end in a tie. You flip another coin. Whoever wins the coin toss, you get the chance to kick a field goal from 40 yards out. I don't know. It wasn't the best. But he got a lot of slack. He got a lot of guff for that. It was just all the tweets were pretty funny.
I'll have to look into it. I don't see. I see a couple articles up about it, but I don't see it laid out. So I'll just say you have 15 minutes, an extra quarter, or however long the overtime is, and then if nobody scores, we all end in a tie and go home. How terrible is that? Let's see what he has. I've got a crazy idea. Imagine right here. Imagine we went through this whole thing, this 10-minute overtime or whatever. Nobody scored. You come back out for another coin toss. Do the coin toss. The Raiders come out for a second coin toss and they win it. So now you get to choose for one kick. Are we going to kick it, or are they going to kick it off? You have to kick it from the 35 or 40. Maybe. What is he talking about?
Exactly. That was my point.
It says, unfortunately, his chance to elaborate on his overtime fix was cut short when ESPN abruptly cut to a commercial break. So
there might be more to that story.
Right, exactly. All right. So fair enough. So that was much to do about nothing. Thank you for that, Matt Carr.
Hey, that was 3 minutes of free airtime, sir.
I would like to know where he was going with that, because he's basically just talking about starting a second overtime, and then I got cut. When he came on, it was mid to late fourth quarter, and I just laid down, so I still had the TV on, but I had it low, because the wife's trying to sleep and everything. And I keep the captions on, but I'm starting to doze, right? And I don't read the whole thing when I'm like at that point. I'm just trying to keep my eyes open to see if the game changes. But anyways, I think that Dallas Cowboy Charger game, first of all, if you got anyone in fantasy, you better load them up in there, man. You better load them up. Put them all in, because you're going to be sad. I'm talking about guys that sometimes you're on the guys like Mike Williams, where sometimes he might be sitting on your bench. Don't have him on your bench this week. CeeDee Lamb, Cooper, if you drafted them,
you're saying that'd be a good stack draft team game.
That would be. They're also probably going to be very high paid, high salary. Excuse me, because they know they go off of the over unders.
Okay.
When you get the best DraftKings stacks that I've ever seen, and I'm not an expert on the DraftKings as I am on regular fantasy and actual betting. So I would never consider myself an expert on the DraftKings stacks, because I always feel like there's algorithms. There's some dude in his mom's basement that's been running numbers for 7 days, and then he puts in 5,800 lineups, and that's how he makes his money. The ones that I see that always work out well is when is it expected to be a low scoring game and it's not, and you happen to have. So in other words, like last night, if you were in DraftKings and you got one of the, like you went out and you grabbed like a Seals Jones who caught that touchdown pass, or you grab someone who's just not expected, that's when you make out like a bandit, because everyone else has ignored that game and they've gone into like Cowboys Chargers, and for whatever reason it's a defensive struggle and everyone's like, oh man, and you're sitting over there with Brandon Cooks against the Browns. Everyone stays away from him and he goes off for 200 yards because they're down the entire game.
That's why last night I actually did DraftKings, and she's like, when Seals Jones scored, she's like, "Oh, who was that?" I was like, "You ain't got him," and she did not.
Who is that? That's what the entire country's asking right now.
I didn't even know he played for. I didn't know he played for them until last night. I thought he was still in Arizona.
I put a tweet similar out to that, or around that time point, right after that. I said, the entire country's going, who in the heck is Daniels, or was it Ronald or is it Robert Seals Jones? Who in the world is that? The entire country's asking them, but hashtag fantasy football. Because when I saw him catch the touchdown in the end zone, I knew it was a tight end because it was a big body. I assumed it was Logan Thomas.
Right.
I don't have Logan Thomas in any league where I'm starting him, but I've got a couple of shares where he's sitting on my bench. And I've picked him up in a couple of leagues where they just, I couldn't believe someone gave up on him that quickly. I didn't even skin in the game, but I was like, that's got to be Thomas. I wonder if I'm going against him. And before I can pull up my app to see if I'm going up against him, I go, wait a minute, never mind. No, if someone started Seals Jones,
good for you.
Fair enough, good for you. Good for you. I really hope you went to Vegas with that as opposed to just putting it in your fantasy lineup. I'll tell you one thing I did like waking up to. I benched Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I have him in 3 leagues, and I knew I was going to do this. I don't even think I started him. I might have started him in a couple of leagues the first week, just out of curiosity. But when I made the trade for him in one league, I did it earmarking week 3, because I don't want any part of him in week 2 when it's a short week and he's got he's got the injury struggles. He's now going to have 10 days off, and guess who comes a calling to New York in week number 3? The Atlanta Falcons.
All right.
And so so if you're going to make a trade, y'all, if you're going to get someone to panic and make a trade, this is the week to do it. Someone who woke up this morning going, are you freaking kidding me? He got me 8 points, whatever he scored in fantasy. It wasn't much.
Yeah.
I left him on the bench in every league. I think I'm actually going up against him in a couple leagues, which I was happy about that. But this is the week to make the trade, because everyone's going to be doom and gloom about Saquon Barkley. I saw tweets about how he looks like he looks terrible. He looks terrible because he can't get off the line because the Giants' offensive line was getting dominated up front. Oh, by the way, Washington may have one of the best defensive lines in football. So let's not panic. Yeah. They're going to have 10 days, and they're going to – this is where they're going to earmark it. They're like, dude, it's time to take the cover off. Let's go ahead and let this puppy run. I'm not saying he's going to go for 200 yards in week 3, but I think he'll be serviceable next week.
So what is and I'm actually listening to this because I need a running back in another one of my leagues. And what is a fair offer for him then?
Let's play that game right now. Let's fix Matt Carr's team. What league are we talking about? Is it one that I can see?
No, it's an ESPN league where I'm stacked with wide receivers. So I have like 3 number 1 outs. I have Keenan Allen, Hopkins, and Adams as my receivers.
Who else are your receivers?
The backup, I can't think right now. Honestly, I can't pull it up. But I mean,
okay, my bad. I thought you had it in front of you. Who are your running backs that you're starting right now?
Connor from Arizona.
Ugh.
And Mike Davis from Atlanta.
Mike Davis will not have a good weekend this weekend against Tampa, so it's not going to be a good time to offer him. So Well, first of all, Keenan Allen's probably going to go off this weekend.
Yeah.
So if you make that trade, do it after this Sunday. But so you have Allen, Hopkins. What was the other one?
Adams, Hopkins, and Keenan Allen.
I don't know if I'm trading any of those guys. Do you only start 2 receivers, or do you start 3 in this league?
2 receivers and one's my flex.
One's your flex, but you're needing help. I wish I knew what the rest of your lineup is, because if you had some under the radar, if you had someone to slide in there in your flex at receiver or running back, and it wouldn't murder you, then Keenan Allen for Saquon Barkley could probably happen, especially if Keenan Allen goes off.
Hold on, I got you right here, Dave. Hold on a second.
Okay. Because I'm thinking if Keenan Allen goes off on Sunday, there's going to be no higher. But the problem is, man, is it a full point PPR?
I think it's a full point PPR. All right, so it's a 2 quarterback league.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, my running backs are Davis and Connor. That's 3 wide receivers. Okay, it's 3 wide receivers: Dante Evans, Hopkins, Allen. My tight ends Kittle. And 2 flexes is Jacoby Myers and Michael Pittman Jr.
What do you have sitting on your bench?
Odell Beckham, Jalen Waddle, Dallas Goddard.
Okay, so you got Waddle, Beckham, and what was the other receiver? Not your tight end.
On the bench is just Beckham and Waddle.
So you've only got a 2-man bench?
No, my bench is Beckham, Dallas Goddard, Waddle, Baker Mayfield, the Ravens defense, Big Ben, and Le'Veon Bell.
Why do you have 4 quarterbacks? It's a super flex?
It's a 2 quarterback league.
Okay, so it's a super flex.
Yeah.
But you've got how many quarterbacks on your league?
So it's a 2 quarterback league. So my starters are Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, and my bench is Big Ben and Baker Mayfield.
Dude, if Baker Mayfield goes off with Houston, you trade him, and man, I hate.
And my other defense is Washington. I started last night.
What sucks is are your defenses getting you big time points?
It got me last night. It got me.
Is it a standard type of scoring system for defenses?
Let's see. This is the first year I've been in this league. This was from a buddy out of Cleveland, so this is the first time I ever played it with him.
I'm just saying, with the shallow bench, unless your defense is worth a lot of points every week, I don't know if I carry 2 defenses.
Okay.
If it's, in other words, like I'm in leagues, your standard scoring league, like 7 to 10 points is like a good week for defenses.
Okay.
I would rather have more depth on my bench than that. But Baker Mayfield should go off this Sunday. You still have Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I would try to couple Baker Mayfield and your receivers on your bench are OBJ, Waddle.
Yeah. And that was it.
Oh, man, because I really hate giving up Allen and the other 2 receivers for Saquon. I was trying to figure out a way for you to be able to move, because you don't need that many quarterbacks is my point. You only need 3, because obviously if it's 2 quarterback league, you need the 2 guys. Got to look at the bye weeks, but you need the Lamar and Aaron, and then the other 2, one of them are disposable, and you can probably hit while this. They're both probably going to have good weekends, by the way, because the Raiders defense is trash.
Okay.
So I would be looking to couple the receiver or the quarterback. The guy who has Saquon Barkley, look and see what his quarterback situation is. He might be desperate for a quarterback, and you might be able to give him Baker Mayfield and something else that's not as detrimental as who were your flexes again? Mike Davis and what was the other guy?
Michael Pittman and
Pittman.
Hold on. And Jacoby Myers. And so Washington's defense last night got me 2 points in this league. So defense obviously is not.
It's garbage. Yeah. What's your other defense? Are there two defense? Yeah, man, I would trash Baltimore's defense and not even worry. Maybe you send Baltimore's defense. You send Baker Mayfield, and if Jacoby Myers has a big game against the Jets, you might be able to strike while the iron's hot.
I'm actually dang man, I'm actually playing. The guy has Barkley this week.
What does his roster look like? Because what I'm looking at is
his two quarterbacks are Sam Darnold and Mac Jones.
Trash. So he needs Baker Mayfield.
And his backup is Tyrod Taylor.
Okay, so he's desperate for quarterback at this point.
Okay.
So you can take advantage of that. See what happens this Sunday with one of these under the radar receivers like a Jacoby Myers. Maybe Pittman has a big game because it's going to be a high script against the Rams. I'd be willing to bet Myers has the better game if you're looking to start your lineup. I wouldn't have Pittman in my because right now it looks like Pasquale's the guy.
Okay.
By the way, is there anything sitting out on your waiver wire?
I haven't checked today. I haven't checked this week today. But his running back is Josh Taylor, Clyde Edwards, and then Barkley and Kareem Hunt.
What's his defense?
We have one defense. It's the Broncos.
You might be able to couple Baltimore because no one has figured out that Baltimore is going to be in trouble yet. Baltimore, Baker Mayfield, and maybe another receiver that goes off this weekend. But man, I'd really have a hard time giving up your three big ones.
Yeah.
Just because Barkley, you don't know what you're going to get out of him, but those three guys should have really good years. But the point is, man, troll that waiver wire and see if you can help out see what else is out there to be able to help the depth of your team. But whatever you set him for Baker Mayfield, and then pick his two crappiest players that you know you're going to drop anyways, right? You're going to drop them and help your team out on the waiver wire. So give me your whatever. I don't even remember who you said, but one of his crappy quarterbacks, or even don't even ask for Tyrod Taylor because you know you're going to drop him, or Mac Jones or whatever, and then someone else because you know you're going to drop him because you're going to try to help. I would carry one defense in this league. I just would because you're not getting much points out of them. Whatever the bye week hits for Washington, you can just go out there and stream someone for that week.
Yeah.
And then as far as the quarterbacks, you don't need 4, you need 3. Because in theory, you'd like to keep Baker, but I don't think anyone wants Ben Roethlisberger, so it's gonna be hard to trade him.
I mean, you got to keep Lamar and Aaron Rodgers, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I believe so. You might be able to live with making one of those guys as a part of the trade, but then that's a straight up trade. That's a Lamar, depending on your scoring system, that's a Lamar or Aaron Rodgers for Saquon Barkley straight up, right?
So like Lamar is projected 22, Aaron Rodgers projected 20, Sam Darnold's projected 12, Mac Jones projected 15. So he does need a little help.
I think I would probably keep, because it sounds like in your league it might be one of those 4-point touchdown scoring leagues, considering your projections. I think I would try to not make Lamar Jackson a part of the trade because he's going to have more worth because he'll get a touchdown or 2 in the air, but he's bound to get one on the ground every week, right?
Right.
And the iron's going to be hot because Aaron Rodgers is going to go off on Monday night.
Yeah.
A couple of the other guys we mentioned are going to go off on Monday night. What is your lock of the week before we have to jump out of here?
My lock of the week, I'm going to say the Chargers over Dallas.
So what line do you have on that one?
3.5.
So LA minus 3.5 over Dallas.
Yep.
It's a little too rich for my blood, but
my versus the spread is Auburn over Penn State.
My lock on the NFL this weekend. It sounds strange, but I'm going to take the Bears -2 at home against the Bengals. I know the Bears didn't look good, but the Bengals are going to go on the road. You can't discount what it takes to win on the road in the NFL. I would think that Bears crowd's going to be rocking, and I don't think the defense is as bad as it looked last week against the Rams, who might have one of the best offenses in the NFL. So I'll take the Bears -2. I like a couple others. I think the Texans are getting way too many points in Cleveland, and the Patriots, after what happened last week, where they just totally just laid an egg, they're only giving up 6 on the road to the Jets. They should roast the Jets. All right, let's go ahead and turn back time. Get the hell on out of here today as we play. We might do this every week. We'll play Let's Fix Matt Carr's fantasy team.
And I'll take the help.
Fair enough.
Dancing with no sound.
By the way, programming note. So yesterday I was supposed to do the Braves Rockies game on Colorcast, and the thing got rained out. Of course, I sat around here for 3 hours waiting to do it. So we'll debut it again tonight. The Braves are on the road, 9:45 Eastern time. They're going to be playing the Giants. It's a battle of 2 division rivals. It's going to be on Colorcast, but if you don't have an iOS to listen to, I'm also going to simulcast it on our YouTube channel. It'll just be the audio, so you can pair the audio up with the video at home. Trying something out for this company. We're going to do some baseball. We're going to do some football here in the very near future. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to look and see what what game she's doing tomorrow, and if it's a game I'm interested in, I might do that college football game tomorrow. That's people wonder like who listens to this Colorcast. It's people who don't want to hear the broadcaster that is actually broadcasting the game originally. So and it might be a little YouTube after dark tonight too, because 9:45 Eastern on Friday night. There might be some cervezas in here. You never know. All right,
that might be a Spencer sighting.
All right. On this date get that thing off there. All right. My screen's freezing. Here we go. On this date, 1917, Honus Wagner retires at the age of 43. What do you know about Honus Wagner, sir?
Not much.
All right. So first of all, from a business standpoint,
I know baseball cards are good to him.
his baseball card is the most expensive baseball card in the world. And the reason why is it was one of the early baseball cards back when they sold them in tobacco packs. And Honus Wagner, along with Christy Mathewson and some other players, refused to let their likeness be put into tobacco packs because they didn't want kids chewing tobacco to get their cards, right? So his tobacco card is the one that's so rare because they stopped production, but some came out, and so that was why that one is so rare. But Honus Wagner, for people who don't know that, he's an all-timer. I mean, the guy had a lifetime batting average of 329. He had almost 3,500 hits. Now, his home runs were only 101, but that was back in the dead ball era. You didn't hit home runs back then. The ball was like the size of a softball, and he never changed it out. So by the time you got to the 9th inning, it was full of mud and everything else. You couldn't get the ball. You were just literally trying to slap and Judy it to get on base, and that's what Honus Wagner was known for. But one of the biggest things that he was known for, so he played shortstop. He wasn't a very tall guy, but he had long arms, really long arms. And so they said that when he would scoop up a ball to throw it to first, that as he would throw it, gravel will come flying your way because he was scooping up and grabbing the gravel and whatnot that they played in back in those days. And the gravel will come flying. He's I'm trying to remember his nickname. I know a lot of them called him Hans. It was the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman was what they called him, because back then everyone was racist and they didn't care. But but anyways, that's what he was known for. He had much longer arms for a guy of his stature, and they were also evidently they were like tree trunks. And so he so anyways, that is this date in
So they were racist, but they didn't want kids chewing tobacco.
Well, you got to have some limits. Birthdays.
Birthday today.
All right. Dead guy. We'll go with him first. Died in 1930. Rube Foster was born in 1879. What makes him such a big name? By the way, have you ever heard of Rube Foster?
No.
All right, so Rube Foster was a baseball player. He was a really good baseball player in the Negro Leagues. But what also made him huge was the fact that, well, first of all, his stature, the guy was enormous. But he was one of the guys that became player executive and manager of what became the big Negro Leagues. So there were several smaller ones all around the country. He pushed for the Negro Leagues too. So the ones that they always reference when they talk about putting guys in the Hall of Fame, he was the executive for the Negro Leagues. He was voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1981, well overdue. But Rube Foster was born on this date in 1879, so happy birthday to him. And we'll take someone who's actually still alive that you have heard of. Have you ever heard of a young man by the name of Phil Jackson?
Oh yeah, he's big guy.
76 years old today. 76 years old. I don't know if I feel like he should be older or younger, but 76 years old. Heck of a coach, unless he doesn't have Kobe or
Shaq or Jordan or Pippen.
If he doesn't have Kobe or Jordan, he's not a very good basketball coach. Isn't that funny how that works? When people would argue with me in the late 90s and early 2000s, man, Phil Jackson's greatest of all time, blah, blah, blah. He has the best players. I could coach that team. You know what I do? I roll the ball and go, all right, guys, just, don't get hurt. Okay. We'll see you in June. Let's go. Come on, let's go. That's all you got to do. There's no coaching in basketball. A guy who's a little younger than that, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes turns 26 today.
Dang, he's going to make so much money.
Yeah, he's in a lot of commercials now, too. I've seen that more and more. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
Looking forward to Alabama, Florida tomorrow. I really don't know how that game's going to go. They say they have the quarterbacks know their plan for the game, but we still have Grantham as the defensive coordinator, so I don't know what to expect. But I know where I'll be at 2:30 Central Time.
What is your prediction in that game?
Man, Alabama's favored by 14.5. I want to say we'll cover. It just depends on if you start Richardson or Jones. I think Richardson might be the next best 15 Florida has. So,
well, I don't see why he wouldn't start. Now, I know he had the injury, but we were talking about this on the warm-up show, and anyone that wants to rewind can, because Tony's an encyclopedia when it comes to Florida Gators.
Right.
I convinced him that I was right in the fact that they had the game out of hand, and this may not have really been an injury. This more have been Emory Jones, you're playing. I'm going to tell the press that you're my starter, but really you're in there because you're my backup and the game's out of hand.
Right.
If you're my starter, I'm not having you in late in the game. So is Emory Jones really the starter? If Emory Jones was the guy that they were going to lean on against Alabama, wouldn't the third string guy be in there? So I do think you're going to see Emory Jones. I think he's going to be one of those guys that you're going to see on, I'm not going to say, I'll say 20% of the snaps to keep you honest. Because when you bring him in on short yard situations, he gives you so much of a different look than what Richardson gives. But there's no way that he's the better quarterback than Richardson.
I just wish this was a night game.
A night game? Is that what you said?
I would have loved it to have been a night game. So I could, well, maybe my liver probably wouldn't, but I would like to see a night game in the Swamp versus Alabama.
Oh, yeah, but that's not going to happen unless you're both really bad. Because this is the CBS this is the kickoff to CBS college football.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm going to have to record that and get that in a loop. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. My walk-off for the day is Monte Cristo sandwich day. Have you ever had a Monte Cristo?
No, but I remember you saying this last year too. You're very happy about this day.
Monte Cristo. I thought I did the other one last year, but anyways, for people who don't know what a Monte Cristo is, it's 2 slices of white bread, mustard, 1 slice of mayonnaise, and then normally you have ham and like shredded cheese, whatever cheese is your choice, and then you fry it like you would a grilled cheese sandwich. Now, some people will put eggs in there and dip it and do it more like without the sweetness, fry it like French toast. It's a very underrated sandwich. So have yourself a Monte Cristo today. It's very, very good. Not a lot of places make it anymore. I don't know why they called it Monte Cristo. You know, there's the Count of Monte Cristo, the book and everything, but I have no idea why they say Bennigan's founded Monte Cristo Day in 2015. That's probably because they were the last. First of all, I didn't know Bennigan's was around in 2015. I'll think that thing gone for 30 years. All right, brother. We will see you next Friday, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll have the Dixie Football Nation, and then of course tonight 9:45 Eastern, Giants Braves right here on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube. After dark, baby.
Friday, working stiffs. Everybody.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy weekend!
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette, please. Can I